Hello, everyone. Hope you are doing well. I'm back again with another episode of the Malgudi Group, and the discussion will continue on the select nonsense of Sukumar Ray. Last session was an interesting one where our talk mostly focused on the translations of Abol Tabol, that is the original Bengali version of Sukumar Ray's work, into English, and the different aspects involved in different translations. So we enjoyed that session, and we also understood the complexities of translating such a work into English. Today, we will focus mostly on the poems, and we will see what could those words of nonsense be hinting at. While we will read out some lines from the poetry so that you will enjoy listening to them, we will also try to think about what those lines could imply. Though nonsense verse aims to be without sense, still we know that those who write nonsense verse, they are masters at their craft, and they intend to convey something. So what is it that a nonsense poem tries to convey? That is something we will try to look at. So last session, I began with the first poem, Hodgepodge, which is about the complexities of identity. And the poem is very interesting because as literature students, we have been habituated to look at individuals grappling with overlapping identities. So that is a very interesting poem to begin with. And as we were talking about the title, Hodgepodge, which also signifies a jumble that beats meaning. So it kind of stands for the whole genre of nonsense works. Now we will come to the next poem in the collection, which is titled The Old Man of the Woods. So from the title, perhaps you would think it is about an old man who lives in the woods or an old man who explores the woods, but it is not so. When you read the poem, you come to know that the old man is an expert or a scholar on different types of wood, but the old man is also chewing wood. So the question would come to your mind, humans don't normally eat wood, do they? Except perhaps what we call catechu, which is used in pan, in betel leaf, to give it that red shade. Except perhaps that hardly any wood is edible. But the old man here in this poem is chewing wood. And let me read some initial lines for you. The old man of the woods, a grumpy old man, sat and humpily chewed a stump of old timber, well shredded and stewed. He muttered and hummed as he made his repast. You'd think him a scholar in quandaries cast. His words were a riddle to ignorant souls. The sky's full of soot, so the wood runs to holes. So that is what he says. The sky is full of soot, so the wood runs to holes. And it is also mentioned in the next line that he sat in the sun with a sweltering pate and grumbles, who cares for these matters of weight? Okay. So who cares about these significant topics? But they are significant nonetheless. So what is so significant about this line? The sky is full of soot, so the wood runs to holes. And it is said that hardly people understand what he says. So what is so cryptic about this particular line? If we read the rest of the poem and we come to the last section where we see that the old man understands the logs that have been cut, the tree trunks that have been cut and left for a long time. He understands that those different pieces of logs, they have different characters, they have different natures, just like there are different shades to human beings. So there are different kinds of things inherent in pieces of wood. And that makes a comment on precarity. If we understand the word precarity, to mean that our world is in danger and we are responsible for that precariousness, then we would understand that the wood runs to holes. It means the wood is somehow equated with holes. The wood is nothing but holes. And if we understand holes to symbolize nothingness, rather than, just looking at it as holes in something, if we equate holes with nothingness, then it would mean that the non-existence of wood. Okay. So if woods are destroyed, perhaps, in a situation like wildfires, forest fires, okay, in that case, a lot of smoke and soot, they are sent up to the air, and that leads to further pollution, which again harms the other trees and lead to their downfall as well, if we can call it down. So then there is something inherent in this line that the old man says. The sky is full of soot, so the wood runs to holes. Okay. And towards the end, the old man says, now here's the whole picture I've mapped. So while he chews on the piece of wood, now we may ask, why does he eat wood? Perhaps there is nothing left to eat. Okay. The word sweltering is very significant. Perhaps, the world has grown so hot that nothing is left except these dried up wood that he's trying to eat. Okay. So he says, I have studied wood for a very long time and I have tried to understand, their nature. Now here's the whole picture I've mapped. I've given my lifetime to stumps and to sticks. The rascally timbers I fitly can fix. I know which are peaceful and which rather wild. The logs that are lusty and logs that are mild, and logs with philosophy lodged in their souls. The 1,000-odd reasons why wood runs to holes. So why is wood being cut? There are so many reasons, and the reasons are something like this. Some of the wood are too mild, some of the logs are lusty, some of the logs are peaceful. That means, they are doing nothing, or they are almost inactive. Okay. Some of the logs are wild. So just, some random reason why wood is cut and why the logs are left to rot and to dwindle into non-existence, and perhaps even, come to nothingness when there is a fire. So something of those ideas are present in this nonsense verse, where the old man of the woods is chewing on a piece of wood and talking about the different qualities of cut logs, cut wood. Okay, so this is the second poem. Now we will move on to the third poem in the collection, which is titled Tickle My Ribs. And the pictures accompanying the poems are very interesting. If you read the book and you look at the pictures, you will see how much of care has gone into the making of this book. So, Tickle My Ribs. You may roam round the world or go sailing in ships, but keep right away from old Tickle My Ribs. He's not worth a visit, the fearsome old bore. He'll tickle you dead if you land at his door. He creeps up from nowhere on poor passing blokes and draws them apart and starts telling them jokes. God knows where he picks up each wearisome tale. They leave you less minded to laugh than to wail. Okay, so I feel that this particular poem is about forced humor. When humor is forced upon you, when you can't handle humor. See, humor is endorsed by society. Humor is accepted by society as important. And we all know that laughter can ease your mind, it can relieve your stress. And that's why we have these comedy clubs, we have sitcoms, we have so many comedy movies which we watch and just for the fun of it. That's fine. But humor, when forced, humor, when insensitive, humor, when, unjustly criticizing something, humor when it hurts, humor when it is toxic, is not acceptable. And sometimes, as you go on in life and you have so many things to deal with, humor just seems out of place. Humor is not always the solution to all your problems. And that is something which the poem hints at. When humor is a compulsion, it can increase your discomfort rather than, make you comfortable. It can increase your discomfort. And that is what this person wants to warn people about. That, you stay away from old Tickle My Ribs, because he has all the, unkind ways of making you laugh. Okay. You see, the poem ends with the line, you must ring out a laugh if you want to go free. It means humor also, it kind of confines you. It confines you and it makes you, unable to handle your pain in the correct way. Because, for example, if we look at, people who have been part of traumatic situations, and you suddenly hope that they will come out of those trance-like situations, if you just, want to make them laugh, saying anything, and you feel that that kind of a forced laughter will bring them out of such painful situations, then it might, harm the person more rather than relieve the person's stress. It might harm the person more. And that is something which I find very deeply embedded in this poem. Though it is a very funny poem, but words like this, expressions like this, that he's not just satisfied with his verbal attack, with the unmindful jokes he comes up with. He's not satisfied with that. He tickles your back. He pinches you black to induce you to chuckle. He pokes at your ribs, and getting a poke at your ribs is very painful. We all know that. He pokes at your ribs and he tickles your side. So when you don't want it, being tickled can be very uncomfortable, right? So you must ring out a laugh if you want to go free. So if you fall into the trap of tickle my ribs, then you have to force a laughter, and only then can you be free. So I feel that it is a very troubling situation to be in, and that is what this poem is trying to hint at. It is about, humor that intimidates, humor that frightens. Okay, so that is the poem, Tickle My Ribs. Then there is a very funny poem titled The Purloined Mustache. Okay, it is about a mustache which has been stolen. Okay. The Babu at the Central Works seemed always mild and mellow. How could we tell he would prove to be a most aggressive fellow? We had left him very happily relaxing in his bureau when suddenly he broke out with a truly shocking furor. He sat up with a vicious start and thrashed his limbs about and rolled his eyes and cried, "Be quick, I think I'm passing out." So some call for an ambulance and some for the police, and someone warns he'll try to bite. So gently, if you please. In the midst of this, with thundering voice and features grim and sullen, the Babu roars, "Confound you all! My whiskers have been stolen." A whisker thief? How could it be? Who had heard of such a snorter? And there we saw the whiskers plain, not shrunk the least iota. So this is how the poem begins. And when you complete reading the poem, just the presence of the word Babu and the setup of the office would bring to your mind the colonial Brown Sahib, okay, which was immortalized in the Punch magazine. We know that. The colonial Brown Sahib, a peculiar product of the British rule. While reading this poem, I was reminded of that poem, Babu Jabberjee. Okay, so we all know that the word Babu refers to a class of Indians at that time who occupied mostly clerical positions, because the Britishers wanted to have a class of Indians who would be Indian in blood and in origin, but they would know all about Britishers and their state of affairs, so that it would be easy for them to govern our country. Now, these clerks, they tried to display their erudition and they assumed the pomposity of their British bosses towards other Indians. And that is what we see in this poem. The Babu in question thinks that he has lost his mustache, and he makes a fuss and he asks everyone to look for his stolen mustache. Now, when people in his office tell him that his mustache is intact, they even bring a mirror for him so that he can see. Still, he does not accept the fact, and he says that this is not my mustache. It is someone else's. Probably it is the mustache of that rude young boy who runs the local dairy shop. And he says, my office men are good for nothing people who cannot even guard my mustache. And then he brings out his ledger book and then he charges all of them a fine. Okay. And those lines are funny. And so he took his ledger book and charged them all a fine, then puffed and choked with mortal rage. He penned a memorandum. The office staff are thick as planks. I simply cannot stand them. You mustn't ever give them rope. Be taciturn and harsh. The pack of dolts have even failed to guard my prize mustache. Okay, and then the poem ends with, it's whiskers now that make the man, and they are our lords and masters. So he says, these people think that they own their facial hair, but actually our mustaches, they are our masters. They define us. Okay. So here it is interesting to note that the Babu thinks that his identity has been stolen. If we equate mustache with identity, if we equate mustache with personality, if we equate mustache with a person's, the power, okay, that defines a person, that makes a person who he is. Okay, so that has been stolen. His identity, his personality, his power has been stolen. So perhaps we could interpret this as, the Bapu thinking that his identity is lost because someone has snatched it away from him, but he does not know who it is. But we can guess that perhaps, it is this allegiance to the British rule. It is doing their work which has actually created this kind of an anxiety about lost identity in the Bapu. This, mismatch between his origin and what he aspires to be, what he wishes to be, what, identity he assumes. The difference between them is causing his anxiety. So though the mustache is there, he cannot, recognize it as his own. So something has changed in him permanently, and he cannot handle that change. Okay, so it is about that kind of a struggle, which he is not able to understand. That struggle beats him. Okay, and that is what creates all this furor in his office. So let us leave the Babu with his lost mustache and go on to the next poem. The next poem is actually something we have discussed in the last session. A marriage is announced. So I would not, linger there. But, I would just like to say that, okay, it is about how a girl, the person's daughter, is going to be married off to a man who, is the least desirable because he has all sorts of health issues, and even his family members, they are not good sorts of people. One is a freak, one is a drunkard, and one went to prison for forging notes, and one, though there is nothing wrong about him, but he just plays a set of drums and earns a small amount of money. So it's not that he is suitable in any way for this girl, because he's not even, well read. He tried full 19 times to get his junior school certificate. Still, his daughter is to be married off to this man just because of his, noble lineage. He comes, or he is connected to the grand Panjandram. Okay, and I would just like to, tell you, I looked it up. I looked up the word pangendrum, and while you are reading nonsense verse, it's a very interesting exercise to try to look for the words that you cannot understand. Okay. So when I looked up that word, I found that it refers to a powerful personage or a pretentious official, someone who is powerful and also shows off that power. Okay. But actually, Grand Panjandram, it's written in with a capital G and capital P. So when I looked for this on the internet, I found that there is a book, okay, titled The Great Panjandrum Himself, which is written by Samuel Foote, the British actor and playwright, and it is illustrated by Randolph Caldecott. And I found it on Project Gutenberg, and I read it. It's an interesting book with pictures. So if you would like to explore the idea of, the greatness of a man who is named Panjandrum, and, how he could command that respect. Okay. Then I think you should read it up. That book is available and you can access it. So it's interesting to see those pictures, those illustrations, and read that book. Okay, so that is just the thing that I wanted to mention. And, if we go through the poems, there is also another important point which came to my mind just now while I was reading The Old Man of the Woods. Okay, there were two words. One is repast. Okay, repast is a very formal word used in the formal context to refer to a meal. Okay, so the old man cooks up a meal for himself out of the woods, the pieces of wood. Okay, so repast, it is a very formal word. And then we have humpily. Okay, humpily, which is actually a grumpy old man sat and humpily chewed a stump of old timber. So humpily perhaps could refer to, a kind of humpy manner. Okay, so there is this word humpy, which in informal British means angry or gloomy. So that is, and in an informal context, it means angry or gloomy. So, this is just an example. And throughout the poems that you find in this book, you will see that there is such a mixture of formal and informal words. Okay. So there is also a jumble of formal and informal in the language of nonsense words. So this is something interesting that came to my mind, and I wanted to point it out for you. Okay, so let us come back to the poems. I would like to discuss two more poems for you before I leave you to explore the poems of Sukumar Ray, the nonsense verse of Sukumar Ray for yourselves. The next poem, which I would like to talk about, is The Power of Music. Okay, so this is something like Tickle My Ribs. There it is forced humor forced upon you, and here it is music forced upon you. Okay, when summer comes, we hear the hums of Bhishma Lochan Sharma. You catch his train on hill and plain from Delhi down to Burma. He sings as though he has staked his life. He sings as though he's hell-bent. The people dazed retire amazed, although they know it's well meant. And not just the people are affected, but the bullock carts are overturned, and horses line the roadside, but Bhishma Lochan, unconcerned, goes booming out his broadside. The wretched brutes resent the blare the hour they hear it sounded. They whine and stare with feet in air or wander quite confounded. The fishes dive below the lake in frantic search for silence. The very trees collapse and shake. You hear the crash a mile hence. And in the sky, the feathered fry turn turtle while they are winging. Again we cry, we are going to die. Oh, won't you stop your singing? Okay. So let us just take a pause here. The poem has not yet ended. Okay. Now, I feel that it talks about the imminent end of the world, something like an apocalypse. The world is going to end, and still Bhishma Lochan Sharma won't stop showing off his singing abilities. Now, the kind of interesting things that happen while the man keeps singing, okay, the skies weep and mansions tumble, mansions crumble, okay. All these things symbolize that human beings, they go on asserting their superiority even in the face of annihilation. They know that they are going to be annihilated, that the world is going to end, there is going to be a void all around soon, and still they cannot stop talking about themselves, and in this case, singing. Okay, so we have already tried to brand this era or this epoch as the Anthropocene because we have been a very important part of this era and we have left our mark and we are sure that our mark is going to stay. We are so sure that we define this era. We have, even named this epoch after ourselves, Anthropocene. But this poem so subtly talks about how human actions can, trouble animals. Human actions can bother other living entities. How human actions can make the welkin weep. That means destroy the air, the sky. Okay. And how human actions can even lead to the crumbling of huge buildings. So either it is due to the incorrect construction of buildings or, we all know, about the rampant corruption and how things are built, how bridges are built, how houses are built these days. Okay. Either that or we can also say that there has been an earthquake and the mansions have tumbled. Okay. So Bhishma Lochan Sharma singing has even caused an earthquake. So this is just for fun. But then humans can cause earthquakes. It has been shown that humans can be responsible for earthquakes through industrial activities like geothermal energy production, and wastewater disposal, and something called fracking. I did not know this term, but I learned it, fracking, which is pumping water, sand, and other chemicals underground to break rocks and release natural gas. So that can also lead to earthquakes. So though earthquakes are mostly natural, but studies have shown that human beings are responsible for earthquakes in some parts of the world. Okay. So then, even in the face of an earthquake or even in the face of the destruction of the environment, Bhishma Lochan Sharma will not stop his singing, will not stop showing off his abilities. Who will put an end to it? A wise billy goat. So the wise billy goat is the hero of this poem. Okay. Who saves everyone before it ends. At least the billy goat is responsible for everyone, getting peace just before annihilation. Okay. So the billy goat knows that nothing will stop Bhishmalochan Sharma and then takes it upon himself to put an end to the singing of this man by attacking. That is how the poem ends. But now there comes a billy goat, a most sagacious fellow. He downs his horns and charges straight with bellow answering bellow. The strains of song are tossed and whirled by blast of brutal violence, and Bhishma Lochan grants the world the golden gift of silence. Okay. So that is the poem, which is titled The Power of Music. And then I come to the last poem that I wanted to talk about, The Inventor. Okay. Let me read some lines from this poem. Chandidas's uncle has devised a grand machine. They have praised it in the highest terms wherever it has been seen. Indeed, they say this uncle at the tender age of 1 would burst out crying Gunga in a manner fit to stun. Now, because this uncle, when he was so small, could utter Gunga when other babies would just say Mama and Gaga. That is what the poem says. So everyone knew that he was a prodigy. Okay. And then he would do great things. And then what is the great thing that he manages to do? He makes a machine, a contrivance. Okay. I've been to see the contrivance. It is quickly understood. Just handle it 5 hours or so, you will get its hang for good. So what does it do? It helps you to cover 5 hours walk in one. So 5 hours walk, you will cover in 1 hour if you have that machine only. Okay. So what is it so interesting about that machine? Let's see. Words can scarce describe the work the learned world has praised. It is fixed upon your shoulder with a rod in front upraised, and there you hang the kind of food you find the most enticing, a pie or pastry, fry or roll, or cake with almond icing. The mind aspires to reach the food, the lips move forth to swallow, the dainty flies before your gaze, and you perforce must follow. Thus spurred along by gluttony, you walk without a heed. The more you see the dangling bait, the more your turn of speed. And that is how 5 hours walk will be covered in 1 hour. Okay. So that is what the machine is. All right. Now, when we look at this poem in depth, okay, when we think about the picture that has been brought in, you can see that it is about the artificial enhancement of the human body and how it makes the human being more productive. Okay, so more can be done in less time. That is what AI is all about. And this contrivance that Chandidas's uncle has made, it redefines his physique. Okay. So the machine changes the physique of the host. That is the idea. But what is it that makes this contrivance successful? It is one of the 7 deadly sins, that is gluttony. So the whole machine is based on the principle of gluttony. Because you are greedy to eat, you can tie anything to the rod that is in front of you, and because of your greed to have that, you will run so fast, or you not run, you will just try to come to that, edible thing which you love so much. And that obviously will not happen because it is tied to your, it's a machine. It is tied to your body. Okay, so you cannot easily reach it. But your pull is great. So you will want to reach it and you will keep walking so fast that you will cover that distance in 1/5 of time. Okay. So what I want to highlight is the fact that the poem has consumption at its core. That Chandidas's uncle has used this pull of consumption in order to make a successful machine. Okay. And I would say that this hints towards a very important debate in post-humanism today. That yes, post-humanism is about the successful blending or merging of biological and technological identities. Yes. But it is also about commodification. It is also about markets. It is also about consumption at large. So I feel that this poem very brilliantly turns our gaze towards this debate, this very important debate that we see in studies on post-humanism. Okay. So let us see how the poem ends. A score of miles you quickly stride and never tire the least, with watering mouth and glinting eye agog to chase the feast. So now you know why man or boy who views this exhibition returns amazed and joins the ranks that hail the man of vision. Man of vision. But will this vision sustain itself? That is the question. Because you see, it depends upon watering mouth and glinting eye, both symbols of greed. Okay. So this is something that we have to think about. And I would like to wind up this session saying that nonsense words is a very rich genre because it also gives you that freedom of linking things, of imagination. And I would say this book is a very beautiful and a very interesting one. While you enjoy the humor that is there, the humor that is palpable, the humor that you can touch, you are also compelled to think about these urgent issues of today. I hope you enjoyed these little observations about the poems, and this will be the last session on Sukumar Ray's nonsense verse, because I don't want to spoil the fun. It is up to you now to find the book, to enter the words created by the nonsense verse of the poet, and enjoy the lines, enjoy the rhythms, enjoy the new words that have been coined, and yet at those deeper shades of meaning that the words hint at. Thank you so much for being with me, and take care. We will meet again soon. We will come back with another text. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.